Wake up in the grind, clock ticking, 20 minutes flat, freedom main-handed, knives built where the real ones at.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the 20-Minute Freedom Project. I am your host, Josh Lopez, and this show is for those who want ownership, discipline, freedom, and to build a life they have always wanted, one that is earned and not handed to them. Today's episode is Do Hard Things. Now, before you start off by rolling your eyes and think, yeah, I've heard that before, stay with me. Because this episode is not about grinding harder. It's not about the chest pumping, and it's definitely not about proving anything to anybody. It's about the kind of man or woman you're becoming through your actions each and every day when no one is watching. Because the life you end up with is not built in big moments. It's built in the quiet ones, the small ones, and the moments where people fold, but you keep going. The problem with the phrase, do hard things, is this. It's everywhere. It's on shirts. It's on Instagram captions. It's yelled from microphones with dramatic music in the background. And the problem isn't that it's wrong. The problem is it's usually shallow. Most people hear do hard things and think, wake up early, push harder at work, suffer more. But that's not the point. Hard things aren't valuable because they hurt. They're valuable because of what they reveal and what they build. There's a difference between chasing pain and chasing growth. Pain alone doesn't change you. Meaningful resistance does. Here's the core truth I want you to hear today. Hard things are not about achievement. They're about identity. Hard things don't just move you forward. They show you who you actually are. And more importantly, they teach you whether you can be trusted by yourself. Because self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Not hype, not motivation, and not that temporary energy, but self-trust. Confidence is simply the memory of promises kept. Every time you do hard things, you deposit evidence. Every time you avoid it, you withdraw. And most people are running around emotionally bankrupt, and they cannot trust themselves because they've been breaking agreements with themselves for years. Every meaningful area of life involves resistance. Your body resists discipline. Your mind resists discomfort. Your relationships resist avoidance. Your calling resists fear. Nothing that matters comes easy. Theodore Roosevelt said, "Nothing in the world is worth having or worth doing unless it means effort, pain, and difficulty." That wasn't a hype speech. That was an observation about reality. And most people don't fail because life is impossible. They fail because the moment resistance shows up, they start negotiating. And unfortunately, we know those negotiations all too well. I'll start tomorrow. I deserve a break. It's been a long week. I'll do it when I feel ready. Those thoughts don't sound dangerous. They sound reasonable. That's why they work. And that's why they're so deceiving. The most destructive thoughts in your life won't scream. They whisper. They negotiate. And every time you negotiate with that, you end up with discomfort. Maybe not now, but you're going to end up with discomfort down the line in your life because you are choosing comfort now instead of discomfort now and comfort later. You train yourself to back down, and eventually you don't even realize you're doing it. You just call it personality or stress or circumstance. But it's a trained response that you trained. Let me paint a picture for you. It's early, still dark outside. Your alarm goes off. It's not the dramatic alarm, just that familiar sound that you've heard thousands and thousands of times. You don't jump out of bed. You don't panic. You just lay there. And immediately the conversations start in your head. You could just skip today. If you've been consistent lately, one day won't matter that much. So you grab your phone. Maybe you hit snooze. Maybe you start scrolling. Just a little. 5 minutes turns into 10. 10 turns into 20. And if you snoozed, eventually you just shut off your alarm completely. And here's what I really want to drive home. Nothing bad happens. The world doesn't collapse. No one calls you out. Your day continues, and for the moment, you feel relief. But later that day, maybe that night, something subtle shows up. Quiet disappointment, a slight irritation with yourself. You don't think about it in words, you feel it. That's the cost. Not failure, not punishment. You are slowly eroding your identity and the trust that you have in yourself. And that erosion is invisible until one day it just simply isn't. Now I want you to push the fast forward button. Fast forward 5 years. Same person, different calendar. You stand in your kitchen, older, more tired than you expected to be. You're not in a crisis. You're not broken. But you know something is off. You look around at your life and you can trace it back to 1,000 small moments built over time where you chose comfort over growth. You didn't ruin your life in a dramatic decision. You drifted there. One skipped workout, one avoided conversation, one delayed dream. When they're repeated over and over, that's how regret is built. Not in explosions, but in the small decisions you make on a daily basis. Avoiding hard things doesn't ruin your life overnight. It slowly erodes your self-respect. And once your self-respect is gone, everything else gets heavier. Your standards start slipping, your discipline weakens, and the voice in your head, the one that argues with you about how comfortable you want to be, starts sounding smarter than your commitments. And one day you wake up wondering when you became this version of yourself. And that's the real danger. It's not the failure. It's the drift and the decisions over time that put you in a situation and a life that you truly didn't want. A lot of times we talk about bad habits, but comfort is one of those most dangerous habits because comfort doesn't feel like a vice that slowly sucks the life out of you. Comfort feels earned. Comfort feels harmless, and it feels logical. But comfort makes you fragile, and fragile people break the moment life stops cooperating. When the business deal you wanted so badly to go through doesn't go through, when your relationship gets tested, when you lose your job, when the diagnosis hits, when the pressure shows up uninvited. If you're never trained under resistance, your life will feel unfair. But it's not unfair. It's unprepared through your decisions. Hard things are training sessions for your life. They don't exist to punish you. They exist to prepare you. David Goggins said, suffering is the true test of life. And what he means is simply pressure reveals the truth. When you choose discomfort on purpose, when you lean into what you'd rather avoid, you build something internal. And that's called grit. It's called resilience. And it's called trust with yourself. What matters is this. It shows up later when life doesn't ask for permission. Here's a thought that many people are going to fight. Your feelings are not qualified to run your life. They're just information. They're data points. They're not instructions. If you only do the hard things when you feel like it, you'll rarely do it because hard things feel heavy at first. They feel inconvenient. They feel unnecessary until the day you look back and realize they built everything you value. You don't wake up disciplined. You become disciplined by acting when you don't want to. You don't decide to be confident. You become confident by keeping promises to yourself and doing things over and over again until you become competent in them. Hard things are the proof. They are the receipts. Identity isn't declared, it's earned. And it's earned daily. There's also a faith element here that doesn't get talked about enough. Faith isn't passive. Faith requires movement in uncertainty. Hebrews 11:1 says, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. You don't always get clarity before the hard things show up. Sometimes you move first, and understanding follows after. Hard things often feel like steps into the unknown. That's not a flaw, that's the point. Growth requires the trust and the faith to persevere at times that you have no idea what's going to happen afterwards. And most people quit right before the growth happens because growth doesn't announce itself. It disguises itself as fatigue, doubt, boredom, setbacks. And if you've never trained yourself to stay when it's uncomfortable, you will leave too early. And you'll do that every time. And you're going to tell yourself over and over, it was logical. But deep down, you know that you decided to choose comfort over doing those hard things. Here's where we can tie it together. A drifter avoids resistance. An operator moves towards it, not recklessly, not emotionally, but deliberately. Operators don't wait for the motivation. They move based on their standards, and standards don't change based on your mood or your feelings. That's the difference. This isn't about heroic moments. It's about finishing what you said you would. Having the hard conversations, training when you would rather be in bed or would rather be on the couch, turning off the distractions, doing the things you keep putting off. The small, unsexy daily decisions are where you transform your life and become the person that you always wanted to be and gain the life that you want. So I want you to answer this question honestly. What is the hard thing you already know you should be doing, but keep avoiding? You felt it when I asked it. Now you're going to go further. What does the life look like in 5 years if you keep avoiding it? Same patterns, same frustrations, different calendar. You're the same person. When that person looks back at you in the mirror, are you actually okay with that? If you're not, maybe it's time to change where your priorities lie. Here's your challenge. One hard thing today, not tomorrow, not next week. Don't freaking delay it. You're going to do it today, even if it's uncomfortable, especially if it's uncomfortable, not because it guarantees success, but because it builds integrity. The real win isn't the result. The win is the moment you realize you didn't back down, and that changes everything. Hard things don't make life easier. They make you stronger, and a stronger you can handle whatever life brings to you. So do the hard thing, not for applause, not for attention, for alignment, for you, for the future version of yourself that is counting on you today. And if this episode hit home, don't just share it with someone who needs it. Live it. Do it. Because freedom isn't found, it's built, one uncomfortable, hard thing at a time. Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and I will catch you guys on the next one.